Okay, we're going to give you a little demonstration of wrestling tools and what they can do for a wrestling-oriented broadcast. First thing you need to know is that each of these different graphical effects that I'm about to describe are individually selectable. So you can choose on a case-by-case basis whether or not you want to use those, each one, on your broadcast. We'll start off here with the live scores effect. Live scores is this ticker that runs across the top of the screen, and what it's doing is showing you what's happening on each of the masks that you're not watching right now. So if I'm watching this feed right here, which is about to have Dan Dennis and Troy Nickerson wrestle, I'm paying attention to that, but maybe there's a few moments where they're walking back to the center of the ring or the center of the mat, or there are other things happening. I might glance up to that live scores banner and note who's wrestling right now on other mats, what the score is, what period it is, how much time's left on the clock, and those things, just to keep a little bit more informed about the action. And if it just so happens that I see one of my favorite wrestlers on one of the other feeds right now, I might actually switch feeds to watch that match instead. So it gives me as the viewer some options. I have more information at my disposal, which keeps me more informed and more entertained, and I can have a better experience by watching the matches I want to watch most. The next thing we have is the scoreboard. And what you're looking at here is the full version of the scoreboard. And this is what we've used for many events, almost every event that we've done to this date. The one downside we've noticed with this particular format, though, is that from time to time the cameraman will cover up the heads of the wrestlers, the referees, with the scoreboard. So what we've decided to do is to enable an optional bug configuration, a much smaller format for the scoreboard, so that it doesn't overlap as much of the screen. It makes it a little bit easier on the cameraman to keep the wrestlers in the picture without chopping off their heads, so to speak. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. We'll pretend that we've just loaded this match. It's getting ready to start. The wrestlers are on the mat and they're getting ready, but the referee hasn't yet blown the whistle. When he does, and the score controller starts the clock, like so, you'll see that the full scoreboard goes away and we switch to that much smaller format. And for the remainder of the match, this is the format that we'll stay in. We'll still see the period number, the clock will still count down, we can see riding time indicators like we had here for Dan Dennis at 1:13. We can see the names of the athletes, and as the mat side controller who operates the clock that runs the scoreboard clicks on buttons as the referee indicates scores, those scores will automatically be reflected in the scoreboard and all of these effects. There's no additional manpower required for any of this. It just automatically happens based off of what's happening on the scoreboard on each of the individual mats. So if I add points here, those points count down, I stop and start the clock, and that automatically happens in the feed, as you can see here. So that's what happens with the scoreboard. When the match is over and the referee blows the whistle for the final time in this match, we'll switch back to the full-blown scoreboard. The mat side controller will indicate who won the match, and we'll go back into that full scoreboard and load the new match and do a little animation there. And I'll go ahead and show you that too. We'll hit the result here. We'll say that this match was won, and save that result, and we switch back to the other format. And now I'll go ahead and select the next match that we're going to have on this mat, and you can see the transition into the rotation, I guess, of the scoreboard. In this case, I waited just a little bit too long to do that, and the system was about to time out on me. It was starting to fade the scoreboard to transparent so that you couldn't see it anymore. There's no sense in having it there if we're not going to have another match right away. But normally you'll just see that scoreboard transition like you saw there, and then we'll go through the same process of switching back and forth to the bug when there's actually action on the mat. So that's it for the scoreboard. The next thing that you'll see here is the multi-ticker. That's the effect at the very bottom of the screen. And what that's doing is scrolling through various bits of useful information. We have the option to choose which pieces of information that we want to include in that stream. Right now it's showing on-deck information, so it shows which match have what bout numbers and who competing in each of those bouts. It'll also show in the hole, so you'll know who's competing, or who's not only who's on deck, but who's in the hole. We will show team scores. We'll show the top 10 team scores scrolled across the bottom of the screen in this feed. We'll show recent results. So you can see if you missed a match, you can see what actually happened in other matches you didn't happen to be watching. And finally, you can choose to include an RSS feed. So you'll show essentially the headlines of articles that are written about the event that you included in an RSS feed during the event itself. So that's just, each one of those are optionally configured. You just select them or deselect them as you wish. And that's it for the multi-ticker. And the final thing we have here for wrestling broadcasts, and I think this is a very good one to include if you'd like to do that, is the Twitter integration. The Twitter integration really gives fans an opportunity to participate in the broadcast. It keeps them much more interested than they might otherwise be when they know they can participate with a group of people who are also watching the event by tweeting to a particular hashtag, with the opportunity potentially even to have their tweet show up on the broadcast. So what we've done here is we've shown the little Tweety Bird icon in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and we've specified the hashtag that fans would need to tweet to in order to participate in this particular stream. When they do that, we can have a moderator select the tweets that they'd like to have included in the broadcast. Now, they'd review those tweets coming through on that hashtag for appropriateness to make sure that they were something they'd want to have on the broadcast. And if they were appropriate, they could choose then to approve it. And they just approve it by retweeting it. And I'll select a tweet here that we'll see show up here very shortly. Let's see, here we go. So there's a tweet. I'm tweeting, and it could be tweeted from anyone. So any fan there could have their tweet selected to show up on the broadcast. And what will happen here is, on a no greater than 15-second interval, the system will go out and check for new tweets. And if it finds something, it will take the latest tweet and scroll it up on the bottom of the screen so that you can see that tweet that fan tweeted. In this case, we see one from USA Wrestling, California Community College Wrestling Rankings for October 5th, and it provides a link. After a few seconds, that'll scroll down, and we'll see that hashtag pop back up, and that's the end of our cycle. Now, as often as I'd like to, no greater than 15 seconds, or no more frequently than every 15 seconds, I can approve a tweet through my moderator and have it show up on the screen. So if I only want to show one every 15 minutes or every half hour or every minute, I could do that. It's up to the moderator to validate the appropriateness and the frequency of the tweets that are included in the broadcast. And that's what we have. You can do a lot of customization here and change a lot of things around. Obviously, the logos that are on the screen can be changed to better suit the organization and the event. But that's it for the broadcast portion of the Wrestling Tools. Next, we'll switch to the recorded portion of Wrestling Tools, so that they can review the performance of their athletes and give them tips for their next competition or their next match. They can use it next season as they're preparing for the next season or for specific competitions against other top athletes.
For the recorded portion of Wrestling Tools, you'll see we have a simplified scoreboard. This recorded version can have really two purposes. First, we can use it for mat side review. If there's a protest and we need to validate that the officials got the appropriate call, we can return to the video and confirm that the call was correct. We don't want to have a very cumbersome, obtrusive display with lots of graphical effects that block bits of the action that might be critical in some of those calls. So we have that very minimal display that you see here. We've also got the basic information that you do need, though, in that recording. We know who's wrestling, what weight class it is, what the bout number is, what period it is, how much time is on the clock, and if there's writing time, we even see that here. This video can be provided to the coaches after the event or after the matches so that they can review the performance of their athletes and give them tips for their next competition or their next match. They can use it next season as they're preparing for the next season or for specific competitions against other top athletes. And it's particularly nice to have that scoreboard information at the top of the screen when you're going back to it a year or so later, wondering, wow, what was the score on the clock right now? How much time was there left? Those questions are no longer a question. They're included right there in the scoreboard in this video itself. And the final purpose for this recorded format of the video is to potentially upload it to a video streaming service like YouTube. The basic critical information is in there to make the video relevant to the viewer. They know who's wrestling, they know what the score is and how much time's on the clock and those things. And they don't have any of the fluff in the graphical display that you might want during a live broadcast, but don't really have a heck of a lot of meaning in a recorded video. To make it even easier to upload this stuff to video, or upload these videos to YouTube with meaningful metadata, I have included a log file that shows each of the individual files that are recorded on a per bout basis and all the information that you would potentially want to include in the tags or the descriptions for those videos. So you'll have information in that log file that says the file name, the weight class, the round, the bout number, the first name and last name of the athletes, the teams, and so forth. So you have all that information to build the title of the video, the description of the video, and populate the search tags as well. So there's some great things you can do with recorded video, and the great thing about it is it all happens automatically. As the clock operator adds scores and stops and starts the bouts, the recordings are stopped and started so that you can have an individual file for each bout with all the information there that you need. Well, that does it for the recorded section, and that is all there is to Wrestling Tools. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those. Just get in touch with me, and I will spend however much time with you is needed. Thank you very much.